let's take a look at how you can connect enterprise DB cluster to DBeaver database tool. So as you know, DBeaver is data admin tool which is free to download and use, right? And I'm going to access my enterprise DB cluster using this tool, and then we will see an example of how to create database, and we can also see if we can do this successfully. So let's take a look at enterprise DB. So when you sign up for account, you can so when we sign up to enterprise DB, we are given this dashboard where we can test drive big animal on cloud, right? We can click on test drive for free, then we will be taken to the portal, right? So in this portal particularly, we have option to create a cluster, right? So we click on create new cluster. For 14 days we can use that, right? Once we create cluster, we can find it in this clusters tab, right? And then we can click on that, and here you get means to connect to this particular cluster. Click on the connect tab here. Now here you are given all the URI, DB name and password, right? So what we're gonna do is we are going to DBeaver, and once you install DBeaver, what you can do, click on that and make sure to open the DBeaver application from your system. So it's basically very simple install regardless of which operating system you are on. You can easily install that. Even there is portable edition that you can use. So let's say I open DBeaver. Let me check whether it is open or not. So it will take a bit of time for opening this Java based application. So once open, what we can do is we can check for enterprise DB, or we can also connect to Postgresql, right? Either of these two methods would allow you to connect to that cluster, right? Now here on the left hand side you have database navigator, right? And on the top you have new database connection. Select from that. Here you can choose PostgreSQL or other. So in other, what you can do is you can select EDB, considering this is what we have. So here let's see, I put on password, then we have database and username to think of. So we go there, DB name is EDB_admin, right? So we paste it here. Database is also same, and then localhost, we have to take a look at that part. Host is this, right? So we will copy that, right? So we have like this full path now, right? You already can see this is what they are going to show you here, right? You can also force the SSL session if you want, right? Then you have other properties as well. Use SSL is also possible here. You can click on that, and then there are some CA options that will be automatically taken care of. So for now I will keep this as is and then hit finish. If everything is correct, we would be able to connect, right? So the driver seems to be missing. So let's take a look at on that part, right? So if we press connect new, the driver seems to be missing and it's not auto downloading either, right? So we will scratch the EDB method and we will then go with PostgreSQL. So here we do have our password. First thing, we will put the password for our PostgreSQL, Then we come back here, check the EDB admin as database and username. Then we have read write host, can put into host part, right? Now we can finish, and we already have the Postgresql driver, so we are ready to connect. It will load and finally it will allow us to connect with cluster. Right now here you can see we already have managed to connect to this particular cluster. So the EDB driver was the issue for DBeaver, so you can skip to that and go with Postgresql. Now with database, here we have option to create a new database where database name is, let's say if I put in something like company, right? So you can choose template database, so there isn't one, so we'll continue as is. Here owner is edb_admin, so we'll keep with that. So we create a new database. Object has encountered permission denied for tablespace pg default, right? So let's try to see our, right? So owner, here we will have to see the Postgres is the owner, right? Then database say company, table space default, we can go with edb admin, right? Let's wait for it to add up here, and as you can see we have our company database. Now we can right click and view the database. It will show you all the properties. So we managed to connect to EDB cluster, created one database. So let's go ahead a few steps more and let's create a schema, right? So in case of Postgres, you already know your table is basically a schema. Here we can see if we can create a query, because query is another good option for you to try out, right? So we can try that. So SQL editor, new SQL script, right? So we are going to run one script here. So let's say we have our database, create table, and let's name this something like department, right? And within department I'm going to add a few columns, right? For example, id integer, then primary key, right? And not null, right? And then second would be name text, right? And then say salary, that going to be integer again, right? And then we will add comma, and we will select this, and let's see, in order to run this query we will have to find that option as well. So here execute SQL statement, and there are error position line 2. Okay, so integer and not INR, so there was the problem. So let's execute, and we have our table created. So it will be under schemas, and we will refresh. All right, so let's refresh everything. Right, so we have like public tables and then department. So if we view table, let's see how it looks, and we can see our script editor. Next to that, in another tab, there is department. We have columns, right? And we got everything properly created. So if we check, let's say select all from department, right? comma, and if you run this, there you go, you have your table called department ready. Right, now you can go ahead with creating the insert statement, like say insert into what you call department ID, name, and salary. Right, so here we can set the values. Let's say I will add my name and then say salary 1500, right? And now I will run this query. So it perfectly executed. So we can keep on adding new people to this, right? And then let's keep changing values, right? And let me add like 4 people here. If you want, you can add more, right? Now we have our insert statements run. We can go ahead, select all from department, right, and run this. Now you can see here that all of the data that you just pass has worked, right? Next thing, we can update few queries. Let's say here, so update department set name, right, to Jane, right, where ID is 3. So now our third entry is changing its name. So if we update, we can now go ahead and use select all from department, right? And if I run this, I managed to change the third person's name. Now let's say if I want to delete any particular row, I can simply use delete from department, right, where ID equals to 4, right? So our fourth entry is removed. Select from department, and if I run this, we got one of that entry removed. So we managed to create table. Now first starting with, we managed to create database, then table, then we created entries, we updated one of the entries, finally we removed that entry as well, right? So you can do pretty much everything with this remote Postgresql database that we just got from Enterprise DB cluster hosted on AWS.